Hi, have you ever thought of being in a hotel and observe every employees that passing around you? Have you ever thought of how they dress, how they stand, how they project their work? Well, every establishment has their own standards, and one of the thing here is etiquette is one of the basic important things that we need to ensure in every other employees of how will you will be look, how will you project, how will you smile, how will you stand, because you are our employees and you represent the company where you're working at. By the way, my name's Megs, your online trainer under food and beverage industry. Allow me to explain to you why and how to project a formal professional etiquette inside the dining room. Well, there's food service attendant etiquette and manners that we expect from our employees. And number one includes running. We don't run inside the dining room. We don't struggle. We don't show that we are struggling to our guests, especially running. Because running shows what? Emergency. That's why you're running. Even if you want your food to be delivered as fast as you can, that you wanted to show your client or your guest that you are at your best on delivering the food, you don't run. Running running leads to accident. Running shows different alarming action to our guests. They might think there's an emergency, they might think a fire existed or something else. You don't want them to get panic, okay? Because they're on their seats having their dinner, enjoying their moment. So you don't want them to feel like that. Next to that one is smile. We always wear our smile. Remember the previous topics that we've made, that we need to project our best smile in front of our mirror. Next to that one is directional fingers. In food and beverage department, especially hospitality industry, we don't point fingers with our own single like this. How we do it is we point we direct our guest with 5 fingers. This way, ma'am. This way, sir. On that direction, sir. On the very end, you have to turn left or right, things like that, because this shows professionalism. Another than that is scratching. We don't do unnecessary movements in front of our guests, also in our dining room, especially if you are inside a restaurant, because it is first sanitary foul that we can call, because you can catch a lot of bacteria from your clothes, your hair, especially your face. Touching her hair or face is a big no-no to our department. Bear in mind that we are serving food, and there are necessary standards that we need to follow. We don't show preference to ladies. Preference means you are doing more than compared to other guests. We don't show that preference, otherwise people might think that you are showing off or you are giving out something in return. So have it fair, even their friends or something, have it fair, stand up erect, do it, execute your job professionally. No chewing of gums, no chewing of anything inside the dining room is also a big no for F&B department. Why? They might think that you are in a club or probably in a bar. Though bartenders don't chew gums, especially on serving guests, because they are still serving food, and professionally we don't chew. They usually do it in probably in a sports like basketball because to release tense, release this tense or their to excitement. Whatever the reason is, we don't chew inside the dining room. Smoking in public is a big no, especially in the view of our customers, because this creates bacteria as well, and it's sanitary, or it creates bad impression. Again, these are all because of we are serving food and beverage. Of course, if ever you smoke and this is one of your hobby, well, we cannot do something about it, but all we care is you appear to our guests in a pleasant, well smelling personality. So we highly recommend for you to have a mouthwash, wash your hands, and brush if you can, so that the guest, when you approach the guest, you are well presented. No counting tips or no counting of tips in front of our guest. That's for usual. We don't count tips in front of our guest because this creates negative impact to our business. Second to that one, even though gratuities are well accepted, but we don't count it on the operation times. Count it with your supervisors after or before opening the restaurant, so that you can share it with your other teams. No shouting inside the restaurant or in the hotel. Again, just like running, shouting is a bit off, especially when you are working inside the fine dining room. It should be calm. It should be harmonious and in a nice ambience. And then you're gonna shout. That's a big no. Even how rude the guest is. What if the guest is shouting? Well, we cannot do something about it. However, your captains and supervisor are well trained to do such thing. Hand gestures. We don't do hand gestures while explaining and talking with guests because this creates unprofessional manner and impression. Tip solicitation, as I mentioned, with the tip counting, we don't do solicit tips. We don't oblige guests. It's a gratuity that we can call. If they tip you or not, it's fine, because some of our department or our establishment requires the guest bill to have this service charge. So it is already in there, and we are not in the United States, especially in California, whereas there's a certain percentage for every customers that has to be given to the waiters as an obligation. Next to that one is you don't get too familiar with our guests, even they're your friends, they are your group that visited you. We don't show too familiar. Otherwise, the other guests will see you and think that you are treating your group or your friends with an special attention. Just be fair, act professionally, stand erect, project your professionalism, and have a smile. Groupings, we don't allow groupings. Why? Because it creates bad impression. Next to that one, it shows our client, our big bosses, that you are doing nothing. No, way back on my banquet days, just to share how we do it. Even though we're like 3 tables difference, no, we just do sign language while waiting for the main door to open, because in banquet service you have to be on your positions before the guest door opens for a proper presentation. Next to that one, never lean and stand against the wall. Standing against wall shows loss of interest on what you are doing. Shows that you are tired already of what you are doing. Remember, in Philippines we only work like 8 or 9 hours to 12 hours maximum, but you don't work for more than 24 hours. So this is a big no, especially on the banquet. We are strict in regarding of this one and implementing this one. This shows no interest at all, so avoid this one, please. Well, there are 10 ways to give superior service in a restaurant. 1. Be patient because you're waiters. Be pleasantly vague. Timing is everything. So, especially on by course or after, you have to know and read your guest. So after that one, if you know they're in a kind of rush or they have time, so of course you don't want to offer them a lot of things if they are in a rush. Be discreet and professional. Be upfront. Pay attention. Always pay attention. Hear out clear instructions, things like that. Good service flow. Read silverware signals. There's a saying in the dining: left is leave and right and is to retrieve. So left to leave, and then when you serve a food or beverage, serve it on the left side, and then right side is to retrieve, especially in banquet service. But always say the magic word, excuse me. Remember, you're there to help, you're there to assist, and you're not the guest. Guests are always right, but sometimes, we have to check and balance. So, just a quick recap on what we have discussed for the day. Always maintain a smiling face. Never point fingers when showing directions. Do not touch any part of your body or your face. Do not show preferences to ladies. Never chew in restaurants or inside the dining room. No service staff is allowed to smoke in any outlets or in the visual of our guest. Never count tip in front of visible to scale or visible to guests. Do not shout inside the restaurant. Do not create gestures with hands while talking. Never run inside the restaurant. Do not solicit tip. Do not get too familiar with our guests. Avoid grouping while on the floor. Do not lean and rest while on duty. So those are the things that we've learned on this topic, and I hope you enjoyed everything and you've learned a lot. Those are insights. Read some more of our trainings for your career upgrade. Thank you so much. My name is Migs again. God bless.